Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is FY24. I know I have been gone, and listen, I have heard the voice of the people, right? So we last recorded, I think, in May. Excuse me. It gets real here. And so it's October, it's sweater weather. So much had happened. I went to Korea in May and came back, and your girl just went through a lot. So, in the meantime, I've been working on some things and I've got an opportunity to do some really great things in between. And yeah, the podcast got put on hold for a little bit, but let's not dwell on the past, right? We got to move forward, as we say in the therapy world, right? We gotta let some things go. And so yeah, that's why we were gone. I lost all of my co-hosts. It's just me, and that's okay too. Y'all just get to stare at me for a little while. If you're watching on YouTube, what's up? If you're listening to me online, hey, I know I got a really cool shout out from a gentleman who listens to me all the way in Australia. So if he gets a chance to listen to this, he knows that I paid attention to him because he said he was going to start a petition for me to bring Duty Bound back. No need, sir. I'm here. But kicking it off the new fiscal year, FY24, so much going on in the world, right? It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. The podcast is going to be 30 minutes long, no more an hour. Yeah, I could talk to y'all forever. I could, but we're going to keep it to 30 minutes because I am a proponent of time, right? I try to be a good purveyor of people's time, and I want y'all to get as much as you can out of 30 minutes with me, right? I don't want you guys just listening to me sit here and chew the fat. You can do that with your friends and your family or your therapist, which I am not. I should be, but I'm not. And so I'm here to kind of paint a story for you guys. And that's what this year is going to be about. There's going to be some more storytelling. There's going to be some more, if this sounds familiar to you and someone that you care about, how to help them. So every episode is going to be pulling in stories, and I'm soliciting stories. They may not always be my stories of triumph and trial, but they will be someone's reality. And that's the world we live in, right? We go to Netflix and we go to the movies for fantasy. I wish I could say that all the time that art doesn't imitate life, but it does. But my point is, you guys come here for a reason, and I want to be able to give you something. So through all the traveling, all the incredible people that I've got to meet, right? Even though this is still a problem, we're going to talk about some of those encounters, what I've been through, what I'm going through. Because, yeah, legally, I can't say anything right now. But I'm going to be responsible and I'm going to be ethical because I don't know, because I'm just going to. And that's what it's going to be. What else? The latest on training. So again, I went to Korea. I got an opportunity to go to Fort Jackson, Fort Irwin. I got to go to Nova in New Orleans. That was bananas and it was exciting. And I got to be out there with a good friend of mine and learn some things about myself and how people deal with people with disabilities and service animals, right? So I got to do that and a lot of introspective work that I'm still doing. So I'm chipping away on the inside. And if anyone has ever had to pause in life and seriously ask the question, is it me or is it the other person? And I'm not being funny because I know there's the am I the a-hole question out there? Am I the drama? But seriously, when we find ourselves in repeated patterns of relationships, when we find ourselves asking the same question with but different people, Is it just me, or do you guys find yourself asking, like, there are some things that I need to do? How am I showing up that some people feel comfortable doing what they do or saying what they say? And so I've been doing a lot of that lately, which leads to boundaries. We already did an episode on boundaries. Boundaries are important though, right? If you don't have them, you are going to wind up having the same people doing the same things. And you're going to be like, why do I have all these jerks in my life? Well, it could be because you allow jerks to cross the line. So, what else has happened? Oh, I launched a book, Grit. I'm going to plug it shamelessly every single episode. So, if you don't want to hear about Grit until the new book comes out, here's your opportunity. Just kidding. Please don't turn me off. Um, Although I've already got your view. Appreciate it. No, really. Grit was great. I don't have my copy with me because I keep it upstairs. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna be plugging that a little bit, a lot bit, a lot bit over the next year until the new book comes out. But GRIT stands for Get Ready Intentionally Today. Today, not tomorrow. You can change that T if you want to, but the results are going to be different today. Get ready intentionally today. And so that was just me combining a lot of different things. My background, my mother played an integral role in that. She is the most gritty woman I have ever met. And I always get emotional and talk about her. So I'm going to try to keep it light for today's first episode, right? Um, and then it combined my faith and it combined what I learned in the military. So, and in therapy, there's like, yeah, the four letters stands for those four pillars, right? So a chair with four legs is pretty stable. And so the combination of all those things was my gift to help other people be intentional about their goal setting. And it covers pretty good gamut of things. Your finances, which are important, your fitness, which is important, and then your mental health or your mental wealth, as I like to say, because you are literally investing in yourself, right? You got to make the investment and build the wealth, a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of skills, a wealth of boundaries. All of those play a role in how you navigate this life. Because listen, it's going to punch you in the face. Life is going to punch you in the face. And what I really have learned and want to teach people is how to put your hands up, how to fight back, how not to get punched in the face. And then, like, I don't know, has anybody ever been caught off guard and just hit? Again, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So, yeah, as I posted today, October 1st, the first time that I was hit, it was shocking. I guess we're just going to dive right into the storytelling since it's about domestic violence. And we're talking about the metaphor of being hit with life and life just not fighting fair. I was shocked. I wasn't raised around domestic violence. I didn't see that growing up between my parents. My father was 45 years old when I was born. Yeah, Carlton just turned 91 yesterday, right before the fiscal year started. And so my parents were older. All their fighting they got out when they were younger in terms of being spunky. My mother, on the other hand, Lorraine, she was a handful. But I saw my dad handle my mother very differently when my mom was being spicy, all the way to the end. Back to me. it didn't start off with an immediate, like, hit me in the mouth or anything. So when I said, have you ever been hit before? And you pause for a second because you're like, did this really happen? Life does that sometimes. You wake up one day and your money's gone, somebody done scammed you. Or one day you're at work and they're like, we got to let everybody go. And you pause because you're like, is what happening really happening? I equate that to the very first time that I was hit. It's kind of like, nah, that didn't happen. And I honestly fought back because again, I wasn't raised that way. And I left too. It wasn't a question of me staying or not. I was like, no, this is not going to happen. I left. However, my marriage lasted 10 years, nearly 10 years. And so, what you'll hear from me and my story and my journey, if you've not had an opportunity to wear the uniform and hear me speak, a trauma bond formed, my self esteem was shot, and without the proper resources and people around me, I fell into maybe he's right. There were definitely moments where I thought for sure he's absolutely right about me. So in the beginning, it was just a push and a shove, lock me in a room, isolating me from my family. Now, the Department of Defense played a part of that because duty says you have to go to your duty station, which was Fort Bragg, right? Home of the airborne. That was our first duty assignment. I'm a girl from Jersey. The good part, as I will always say, go birds. I was away from my family, but just a few short hours down the road. 6.5 hours it took for us to get from Bragg to Jersey. So while away from my family and immediate access to them, it wasn't like I didn't have access to them. My parents could come down and I could go up if I wanted to, but I had no car. I was a mother of two, and it it created an environment for me to be isolated. When some of these young people are getting married and moving away from their home, they're moving away from their support system. Now, mind you, this is circa 1998. Cell phones were very new and very expensive. If you are old enough and you're listening to the podcast, you remember when we had minutes and we couldn't be on our phone, but for so long during the day, because those were considered peak hours. You had to make all your phone calls after 7. And if you had a really cheap plan, you had to wait till after 9 o'clock. Landline at home. And though I am the baby, technically of 10, but I grew up with my sister, so it was 7 of us. I had a really decent support system. That is not the case for everyone. I had to tell my family that I needed help without telling my family why I needed help. The one person that I, could tell was my sister who I was close to. But I would not tell my mom and him. I tried everything, like we're not getting along or things are not working out, or he has these unrealistic expectations of me. Like he wanted the house clean, like when he got home from work. Okay, I know that sounds like it's not a big deal because there will be people that are like, of course, your husband wants a house clean when you come home. Um, Paint the picture that both of my boys were within 2 years old at the time. I'm 20, not even 21 yet. And my second child, who would become my middle child, was autistic. In 1998, there was no such thing as autism. They had no idea. And for the most part, Joshua grew up a fairly neurotypical baby. He did not walk until literally on his first birthday. But again, no one was really checking for that. And so there was a lot of things that were going on with me as a new mom and understanding my baby and all of his things that he wasn't doing or should have been doing, like his brother did, trying to navigate that all while you have a spouse and you are maturing together. So here's my point number one in terms of young people in the military getting married, especially before the age of 22. You are having to mature with someone, to walk through life with them as their bodies are changing, their minds are changing. And then on top of it, this job, this profession, it's supposed to be a profession, right? This profession of being a soldier, a sailor, an airman, a guardsman, a guardian, a Marine, all while trying to be a husband and a dad. And you've got demands everywhere. In no way, shape, or form is that an excuse for anyone to ever be violent. What I'm saying to my audience is if you know someone who's young and has decided to marry someone who's a service member, these are some of the things that they are going to be faced with very fast, very early. They've only, for women and having their cycles and just coming into womanhood in less than 10 years. And then you add on top of it being a mom, being away from your family. There's a gravitational pull to the stability that that person can provide versus the instability of them being violent. And so when I left and had to move back home with these two children, one whom I didn't understand what was going on with, and having to live with my parents, I started doing and having those conversations of, is this what I want? Can I do this by myself? What can I do to make him not do that to me? Those are things that I thought about. On top of hearing him in my head, no one's going to want you. You're a single mom, married, of two kids. You're uneducated, high school graduate. All of those things played a role in, I got to go back. Because maybe he's right. And so, point number two, if you or you know someone who's in this situation, stability could be the very reason why they go back, why they stay. And there'll come a time when we'll have the conversation of, even if you could offer that person a brand new house with everything that they need, why they would choose a return. That is probably a whole nother episode. I made many attempts to leave, several, as a matter of fact. Leaving and going back over the course of nearly a decade. A lot of it was tied to stability. None of it was tied to love. Zero. And not just stability for myself, stability for my children. When I left the first time, I came back, I was pregnant. And immediately the stress of being a father to three. And I think at the time he was like an E3. Again, if you're in the military, that's enlist. I mean, you know what an E3 is. For those that are not military, E3 is pretty low. E nothing, not making a lot of money. Couple $100 on the 1st and 15th. We struggled a lot. We were getting gift cards from the chaplain, gift cards from the unit to go get food. My parents stepped in a few times to help us with rent, especially because of that cell phone. And I attempting to get some jobs and put my child, who, again, not understanding what was going on with my Josh. Daycares didn't work out. And so pregnancy added stress to both of us. And after several tossings, arguments, screaming, I went into the doctor's one day for a checkup. I was within the first trimester, but toward the end, because I have a negative blood and I have what they call the RH factor. So, teachable moment here for some men. Women who have a negative and RH are required to get shots in their first trimester and their last trimester, because our blood mixed with our soon to be child's blood would kill them. And so they give us this shot so that my blood does not mix and think that this precious child in me is some type of foreign body that needs to be killed. And so when I went in to get my checkup, to get my shot, I was told that my child was not viable, no longer alive. This is the first time that I have publicly talked about my child loss, which coincides with October because it is Infant and Child Loss Awareness Month. And I remember them giving me the option to do a DNC, meaning they remove the child, or I wait and let it happen at home. I did not want to do the latter. And so they scheduled the DNC. And as sure as God made green apples, that man went to work that morning while I sat in a hospital alone. He came afterwards. The doctors gave him instructions and he was frustrated. Frustrated that he had to be there. Frustrated that this happened. He never acknowledge that loss. And until today, I've never publicly talked about it either. And so that started this attachment, this trauma bond of why don't you love me? Even with that. And I think at one point afterwards, I threatened to leave again. There was a lot of times, especially being at Bragg, that I may have traversed back here to Jersey on and off more than I cared to, just to give myself some relief and a break. And my family was all too happy to welcome me home. And I'm grateful for them. And I'm sad that everyone who even has to or had to experience any type of violence does not have a good support system. It makes a difference. It can save their lives. And so again, point number 3, if you know someone or if this is you, plug into your resources or to the hotline, which I'm going to drop that number anyway, the ability to call or text or go onto their website. I believe the website is thehotline.org for domestic violence awareness. And then create a safety plan. Even if it's a year out, create a safety plan somewhere and the ability to do so in secret, or have someone else keep your safety plan. Don't store it on your phone. Don't store it on your computer. Don't write it in a journal. If you have the ability to keep your safety plan outside of your home, do so. I'm encouraging you to. So listen, again, I am excited to bring back the Duty Bound the Duty Bound podcast. I'm excited to connect with more people. I have so much more to say and so much more to give, but we're going to end it here. I like to bring up all the stuff that we have going on. So the first week of October is Mental Illness Awareness Month. What else we have? Indigenous People Day and awareness that we're going to be highlighting on the website. Please go to our website, glasssoldier.org. Volunteer. I can use more and more people in my life that want to do this work. I can't stress enough that nonprofit organizations do not run without the strength and the health of the people that want to see this change. And I've seen it in other organizations. I want to see it in Glass Soldier. And so I'm encouraging you guys to go to glasssoldier.org and volunteer. Also, Act to End. And again, the launch, the book, acttoendcoaching.com is where you can go and find the book and all of my trainings. So many things coming out in the month of October. So many things. And the only way you're going to find out is to connect with me on social media, Dr. Deandra Poe on Instagram, act_to_end on Instagram, Glass Soldier on Instagram, Facebook. Listen, Google. You can Google me. I'm Googleable. I'm Googleable. Never thought I'd say that, but I am. And so I'm excited. Connect with us. Please rate this podcast so that we can move up and more people can be aware, and reshare. That's it, everybody. That's the end. As I always sign off, time is a finite resource, so I thank you for spending it with me. Do good, be good.